Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 10 of Coffee Chats. Today I'm here with Brooke Miccio and I am so excited to talk to her. She is a YouTuber and a podcaster, and honestly I'm so excited to talk to her because her videos are such a positive place for me to go and watch her videos. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for saying that. That's so sweet, and thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so to start off with, what are 3 fun facts about you?
Oh my gosh, I was trying to think about fun facts. Always throw me through a loop.
I always feel bad asking.
No, it's all good. It's so funny. I was just talking to my friends about fun facts and like what they say, and I feel like the typical ones are like celebrity encounters or like interesting story, like unique. Like my third cousin is this person or something like that. I guess we'll start off with number one. It's not really a fun fact, but I have a dog, like my family dog. It's not mine, I guess, but my family has a dog. Her name's Cookie. She's very sweet. She's a lab and she's like 10 years old. I feel like not everybody knows that I have a dog, so I guess that's interesting. Number two, we'll say a lot of people know this story now, but one time Ed Westwick, aka Chuck Bass, came up to me at Coachella and asked me for a cigarette. So I find that like that's like my celebrity story, and I didn't have one because I don't smoke, but I was like, what? He like approached me in a beeline. That was a fun fact, fun time. And then number three, I guess I'll talk about my brother. I have a brother who plays Division I college lacrosse, and he's the athlete of the family. I feel like a lot of people don't. I talk about my brother a lot, but I don't like show him a ton. So sure, that's another fun fact.
So what's been the highlight of your week?
Honestly, coming back to the city, I went home for a little bit to Long Island for like the election, and I voted and I just chilled at home for a little bit to see what the state of the world would be. And I came back to the city and it's been lovely. So I love being in my apartment and I love having weeks here. It's nice.
That's good. And because this podcast is called Coffee Chats, I like asking everyone what their coffee order is. So
I love that. Recently mine's been super simple. It's either a cold brew with almond milk or oat milk.
I've never had a cold brew.
Really?
I don't know what it's going to taste like, so like I don't know.
It's good. It depends where you go because some of them are more strong, like acidic tasting, I will say, I guess. So yeah, pretty good.
So just like a brief outline of what you do, so YouTube, podcast, everything.
Sure. So I do a lot of different things. I guess we could start with, I'm a full-time content creator, I like to say, but the base of all my stuff is on YouTube, yes. So I post 2 to 3 videos a week, like vlogs or chatty videos, basically. I try to make them long, so they're nice long content. So I like that because people can watch them, when they're cleaning or chilling or as background noise. And then I have a podcast that I do every week with my best friend, Danielle Carolyn. We post that on Wednesdays. It's called Gals on the Go. And then I do Instagram, TikTok, all that. I'm trying to get into the other stuff. I'm not really the most like photogenic like I like taking pictures and stuff, but especially during these times, it's kind of like I feel discouraged, but I'm trying to get better about those.
I always struggle with like posing and stuff. It's really...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been on YouTube for a long time. Like I've only been watching you for like a year, I think, but I know from like listening to your podcast and everything that you've been on there for a while. So what is your YouTube journey been?
Yeah, I've been on YouTube for a really long time. I got a laptop when I was young in like elementary school. I like begged my parents, like, please, I want a laptop. And I just started like diving into the internet and I found YouTube and I found all these videos and I found like people my age doing videos. So I like taught myself how to edit. I would get my friends and get them to be in it. We would do like skits or like lip sync to music videos. And that was through middle school. And then I deleted that channel, I guess. All my friends were like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I was like, no problem. But I still really liked YouTube. So I started back up and I did a beauty and fashion based channel, I guess, like early high school. And that over time, it's been the same channel, but it's changed a little bit. And I started doing more content about like school, and then it became more vlogs. And now it's just me showing my life. So it's been that channel since I was in 9th grade. So it's been like 10 years now, which is crazy.
I really like hearing like people who've been on there for a long time, like seeing all the different eras and everything.
Totally.
Okay, so you mentioned about school a minute ago. So what did you study in college and what was your college experience like? And also, was it difficult to be an influencer alongside college, and did it affect your experience in any way?
Yeah. So I will say I was at a very different place in my like quote like influencer journey back then. Like I definitely was growing and had somewhat of a following, but it wasn't crazy. So I kind of, in a way, looking back on that, I kind of like that though, because I was able to focus on my social life and, you know, making friends and school, of course. Obviously, I went to school for school. So yeah, I was a marketing major. I was in the business school. I really enjoyed college. I went to school at the University of Georgia in the South. It was a very different type of world than what I was used to on Long Island. You know, I was used to like just suburbia, like in the north, and then went to this big state school in the south. So the people were very different than me, but it taught me so much. And some of my best friends are still down there in Georgia. They are like in Atlanta and stuff like that. So I miss them a lot, especially during these times when I can't see them. But college was great.
Okay, so after college, you got a just like a normal postgrad job, and you ended up quitting it for YouTube. I would like to say, I don't really like to say that because
yeah, it's okay. It's like, what do you like phrase it as? You know what I mean? So I was doing YouTube and my job for a while. So I got a job after college, just financially. That's like the situation I was in. I was like, all right, I'll get a job, and like just kind of seemed like the right thing to do. And I was working both for a while, and YouTube and like my podcast and everything was really taking off, and I just felt like really overwhelmed. I was like, this is like a lot, etc. And I was able to quit my job after only working there for a few months, and I was like, I'm going to give myself 6 months to a year to do YouTube, and it worked out. So now I'm still doing, or I guess not even just YouTube, my podcast, everything else, and now I'm doing all that full time.
So obviously, like, I feel like it's a bit of a thing, influencers to like move their job and like do like influencing full time. Did you feel like any judgment for doing that?
I think I like projected the judgment on myself. Like I was like, oh, what are people gonna say about it? Not even so much people online, but people, and not my parents. My parents have been so supportive, and my friends were supportive. It was more so like people who are like my parents' friends or like friends of friends, like society, like stuff like that. Because I found that like really the community online was super supportive. And like I said, I mean, I had my own back, but like my parents having my back definitely helped me a lot.
That's good. So did you feel pressure to get like a real job when you left college?
Yeah, for sure. I was like, I just went to this really great school. I paid a lot of money in tuition, or like I paid some, my family paid some. I was like, this is a lot of money. And I think that expectation was kind of weighing on me. It was like, I just paid all this money and like, I just went through all this work, like 4 years of hard work, I have to use my degree. But then also financially, I was at a really different point then. We weren't really making money off the podcast. YouTube was doing like kind of well, but I didn't really have enough to like go out on my own, I think. So like having the comfort of like getting a job was definitely nice.
That makes sense. So you mentioned Girls on the Go, which is your podcast with Danielle. So how did it sort of start, and what is it like working with Danielle on the podcast?
Yeah, it's so great. I love Danielle. We started really organically. Like we're just really, really good friends. We became friends from social media, YouTube, stuff like that. We both ended up at the same college, and podcasting just was kind of, I kind of noticed it as a trend. And I think I brought it up to her. I was like, would you want to do a podcast together? And we kind of sat on the idea for a while. And then we talked about it more seriously, and we're like, let's actually do this thing. And we're very like action based. So we were like, let's do it. And like, we like literally set a date, and we're like, we're doing it. Like the first week we got back to school. So I was a senior and she was a sophomore. We started, and we've been doing it ever since for over 2 years now.
I love it. It's so like positive, and like all the guests you have on and everything. It's just...
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying to really make it like a source of inspiration and like a way to make someone's day, because I know how it is when I listen to my favorite podcasts, and like I want to do that for somebody else too.
I definitely think we're achieving that. So as you said before, you've been in the YouTube influencer space for quite a long time, and in that time I feel like YouTube has changed a lot. Like 2020, Instagram, YouTube, everything is just such a like mad place.
Totally.
So how do you think it's changed in that time? Sort of how have you moved and grown with those changes?
With the changes like on YouTube and stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've positively grown with them. I'm like a really big YouTube watcher, so I just kind of like see what's happening in the industry. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, like I noticed a few years back, like 3 years ago, we were moving more towards like vlogs. Like it used to be these highly produced videos, and then I noticed everybody was doing vlogs, so I kind of progressively made the shift like that. So I think it's really just staying on top of everything. I've noticed it in a positive way personally, but I think maybe that has to do with my growth, like how I grew a little bit later on and stuff like that. But it's been interesting kind of seeing the phases of YouTube and the people who have come and gone, because you know the people who were on the platform when I started like are barely making videos now, and there's new faces coming in every day, which I think is so awesome because there's truly space for everyone.
Yeah, I agree, because I think sometimes it can be for smaller creators, like people just starting now, it can be a bit daunting because you've kind of, it sometimes feels though you've missed the like wave, but I do definitely think that we're starting to see like
Totally
people come up again. Okay, so I really want to talk about New York because I don't know, I find it such an interesting place. We were supposed to be going next year for my mum's birthday, but I don't know, I don't feel we'll be able to now, which is really
you never know. I mean, we'll see what the state of the world is, right?
I hope so. So how are you finding living there?
I really like it. It's definitely weird during a pandemic, but like I said, I grew up on Long Island, which if you don't know, it's about an hour, where I live on Long Island, it's about an hour away. So it's like suburbs, but still like really commutable to New York. You could take a train or whatever, or drive. And I really appreciate being that close to home. Like I really, as I've gotten older, I've gotten closer with my parents. I've always been close with my parents, but I want to be closer in proximity to my parents, especially with the pandemic and everything. So I love how accessible I am to my parents. And New York City, it's an amazing city, pandemic or not. It's still New York. So I feel really great being here. I'm really lucky.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of stuff about like, oh, like New York isn't going to be the same after COVID, but from your vlogs and everything, it still seems like a very like social.
Yeah, and I feel really safe here. Like I will say, in terms of how the state's handling COVID, like people get mad about the, you know, guidelines and restrictions. People are like, New York's not fun. It's like, we have to, you know, be careful. Like I think we're doing a really good job of handling everything as best as we could.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for anyone who's moving to New York?
Tips? Yeah, it's an expensive city, so you're going to want to save up. I would recommend if you really want to move here, you know, like save at home. Like if you could live at home for a little bit and give yourself, you know, a year and a half, whatever it is, and like put that money in the bank. And I would say have a plan when you move here. I think a lot of people move here and they're like, all right, I'm going to just like vibe or live or whatever. And it's like, that's unrealistic. So maybe if you could, you know, start applying for jobs. This is a really great time actually for, I mean, it's not a great time for the job market, but if you can find a job in New York, because you're probably working from home, so you can save money, live at home, apply for jobs in New York. And then when it's time to go back, maybe you'll have some money saved up for rent. I mean, rent is off the charts expensive. So is just the cost of living, like going out to dinner, drinks, whatever. It's all extremely expensive. So that's my biggest tip, I guess, is the finances of it all. But it's an amazing city. And I think that there's so many different neighborhoods. You could truly find a pocket that you would enjoy. And I've had a great experience here so far.
That's good. Okay, so from like a viewer's perspective, I feel like that, and also from like an English viewer, so I don't I feel like there is a big difference between the New York influencer sort of scene and the LA influencer scene. Like LA is very like, well, I don't know, but it just seems very,
I get it.
What are your sort of opinions on that?
I think back in the day there was a clear difference, but now I don't think so much. You know, I think back in the day when a lot of people were choosing like, I'm going to drop everything and move to LA and like pursue my dreams. I think that was like a different era, whatever, however, that was that like 4 years ago. But now, I mean, I have so many friends who live in LA that don't meet that stereotype of like LA culture. So I don't think it's fair for me to say that, but I could see how from a viewer it might appear that way. I think that it's way more, you're in the influencer bubble versus here, like 90% of my friends are not in the influencer bubble. And I think it's important to stay humble and remember like your roots and like have actual friendships that exist offline, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've got to the final question, which is something I ask everybody, and that is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like something like inspirational that my mom has told me. I mean, my mom and dad have always told me to like silence out the haters and do your own thing. And I think that's really like built me to where I am, because if I, stopped doing everything when I was like getting bullied in high school or whatever, I don't even know where I would be right now. So I think they've always taught me to, be proud of who I am and like own myself. And I really appreciate that. They're always like really motivating like that.
That is good advice. Okay, so that is all the questions that I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been so nice to talk to you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. You're so sweet.